Today, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to deconstruct what looks like a simple web page, the deals page for TAP Air Portugal. Because I promise you, buried inside all these prices and destinations is an airline's entire global strategy. So let's dive in. At first glance, it's just a list of cheap flights, right? But what if I told you this page is actually a map, a blueprint that tells you where an airline is strong, who they're trying to sell to, and even the best way to book a ticket? So, what secrets are really hiding in plain sight here? Well, the very first clue is scale. The page immediately tells you that TAP flies to over 80 destinations. Right away, that tells you this isn't just some small regional carrier. We're talking about a global player, and that big number really sets the stage for everything else we're about to find. Okay, so let's dig into where those 80-plus destinations are, because this isn't just a random list of cities they threw on a map. Nope. It's a very carefully built network, and it reveals exactly what the airline's core markets and biggest priorities are. First up, Europe. And yeah, no big surprise here. They connect all the major capitals you'd expect, from London to Rome. But if you look a little closer, you see this dense web of routes inside Portugal and Spain. That shows you they absolutely dominate their home turf, the Iberian Peninsula, and use it as a powerful launchpad to the rest of Europe. Now, let's hop across the Atlantic. TAP has a really solid presence in North America, hitting key cities like New York and Miami. But look at Brazil. I mean, the list of cities there is just enormous. This is not a side market for them. It is a core piece of their entire strategy. TAP is clearly positioning itself as the main bridge between Europe and Brazil. And this leads us to their third major play, Africa. Now, the network here is much more focused. Do you notice the key hubs are in Portuguese-speaking countries like Angola and Mozambique? That's not a coincidence. It points directly to a strategy that's built on deep historical and cultural ties, serving markets that a lot of other European airlines might just fly over. All right, so we know where they fly. Now let's talk about how they sell it. The page breaks down the deals into these different categories, and by putting them side by side, we can see the airline's whole product strategy laid bare. So you've basically got two main ways to fly if you're using cash: economy and business. One is obviously for the traveler who's focused on value, and the other is for the premium customer. That's pretty standard stuff, but the difference between the two, that's where the story gets really interesting. Let's start with economy. These are the flashy headline deals, right? New York to Lisbon for under $350, round trip. Boston to Porto for less than $400. These prices are designed to catch your eye, to feel super accessible. This is their volume play. Get as many people on the plane as possible. Okay, now for those same routes, take a look at the business class fares. Wow, that New York to Lisbon flight, it jumps from $347 to almost $2,500. And Miami to Lisbon goes from around $500 to over $4,400. So the real takeaway here is the massive, massive gap. This isn't a small upgrade. It's a completely different product for a totally different customer, and it's where they make a ton of their money. But wait, there's a third way to pay that the page really highlights, and it uses a totally different currency: airline miles. This is all about rewarding loyalty and getting customers completely bought into the whole TAP ecosystem. The way it works is actually pretty simple. You use a big chunk of miles that you've earned, but you don't get a totally free flight. You still have to pay a little bit of cash to cover the taxes and fees. So it's kind of like a hybrid model, miles plus cash. And here's what that looks like in the real world. A flight from New York to Lisbon will cost you 58,000 miles plus $172. By showing these fares right next to the cash prices, the airline is constantly reminding its frequent flyers, hey, your loyalty is valuable, and encouraging them to keep flying with them. So after looking at all these routes and all these numbers, what's the big secret to actually getting a good deal? Well, here's the funny thing. The airline tells you. Their number one tip is sitting right there on the page, hiding in plain sight. And there it is. That's the headline of one of their main sections. It's not some complicated travel hack. The airline's core advice, the foundation of its pricing model for these deals, is all about rewarding people who book way in advance. In fact, all those cheap sample fares we just saw, they were for flights dated almost 2 years in the future. And where should you look for those deals if you're booking early? Well, the page tells you that too. This list of popular flights isn't just there for fun. It's basically a treasure map of the airline's most competitive routes. These are the cities where they are fighting hard for your business, especially from the US East Coast. All right, let's bring it all home. We've gone from destinations to dollars to deals. So, what did this one single webpage really teach us about Tap Air Portugal's grand strategy? So here it is in a nutshell. First, TAP uses Portugal as this incredibly powerful hub that connects three different continents. Second, they have a laser focus on specific markets where they have a cultural edge, especially Brazil and Portuguese-speaking Africa. Third, their business model is crystal clear. Sell a ton of affordable economy seats while making huge margins on premium business class. And finally, their big tip for saving money is the simplest one of all: just book early. So the next time you're hunting for a deal online, don't just look at the price tag. Look at the map, look at the different fare types, and really pay attention to the words they use. Because every single deals page is telling you a story, and understanding that story can make you a much, much smarter traveler. So my question for you is, how will this change the way you plan your next trip?